Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 9. Then Wednesday, snow expected with a high of 27.
For more than 40 years, the Great Wall Restaurant has been serving up Szechuan and Mandarin favorites. The Great Wall is located just north of 50th in France on the Minneapolis-Edina City line. Check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And as we move into Tuesday here, I got to say, my world's falling apart here a little bit. I woke up, well, actually, I think it started last night when we were talking to Chad Lewis, and I started to get a sore throat. And I've had literally maybe 2 weeks of feeling like I'm not sick, because I've had a bout of it since probably November, going into January. Now I'm feeling like I have a bit of a sore throat, so I got to take good care of myself because I am so tired of being sick. And I probably picked something up at the convention this last weekend, and it's like, whatever, it's fine. But it's just like, boy, and they call it, all these, conventions and everything, that we have our own terminology for everything. So it's called con crud. Okay, that's what they call it when you are sick after a convention. It's called con crud. I mean, whatever, it's what it is. But that's frustrating. But I also am going to mention that I have this sort of defective bottle of water that I am not sure why I run into these more often than not. I have a plastic bottle of water here. This is Ice Mountain. It's my favorite bottled water, but the bottom of it is really kind of crooked. So if you don't put it down the right way, it tips over. Now I know some Weisenheimer out there is going to be, why don't you put it into a glass? Well, because I didn't think about it until I just said it right now. And that's something that would have been a very smart thing to do. But we're too late because we have a show to do here. So if you hear something crash and you hear like a flood and me swearing even, that that's because the water has actually tipped over. But we don't have time for any of that. What we have going on right now is I'm very excited. Our guest tonight is author Marie Cisneros, and she has, there's 2 books that we're going to talk about here tonight, and maybe other stuff as well. She wrote the book Haunted Muskegon and Haunted Newaygo County. And, what I love about having these conversations is that we are looking at, excuse me, parts of the country that, first of all, is not around us, and that we can kind of see what other sort of ghost stories and other things are happening in other parts of the country. I love this. And also, maybe get some of you to wonder, do I go out here? Should I go and maybe visit this place? So there's something to it there. And I am very happy to welcome Marie. Marie, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be chatting with you.
So am
about
I.
all of this stuff.
And we were supposed to have Marie on in December, but once again, I got sick and we had to push it. And I am just so glad that you were able to make time for us to talk about these books and everything else you have going on. And I guess to start with, I've had authors on before who focus on some of these haunted locations, doing kind of books along the lines you do. And talking with you before the show started, I actually was surprised that you are not a paranormal investigator.
Does that make it worse for me?
No.
that I wrote these
No
books?
judgment, no judgment. But I guess where I'm going with this is what where does this sort of enjoyment of paranormal and ghosts and stuff come from for you?
Pretty much my whole life. I don't know if I was born to do this sort of thing, but I grew up in a family that we were always privy to my grandmother's stories of ghosts that they had seen or just strange things. Like my grandmother's story about seeing frogs fall from the sky. And I've always been a curious person, I guess. And I started really getting into it when I was around 13, very interested in anything paranormal, ghosts, witches. But, actually, my interest starting out in the paranormal was more, the ghosts and spirits and that. And some of the best books I read back then was by Holzer.
Oh, yeah.
Those were just the premier books on ghosts. So I think getting back into doing these books was just kind of more just going back into that. But yeah, for obviously many years I was part of MUFON and investigated UFOs and alien things for a long time.
I love alien things. Yeah. Well, and that's just it. I mean, during your time with MUFON, were you able to investigate cases that really made you scratch your head about what is out there, maybe help you come to one conclusion one way or another? And I guess where I'm going with that too is that I understand that there's a lot of cases out there that either are pretty easy to be like, no, that's probably not something, or whatever. What kind of were these good cases for you, I guess?
Well, to be honest, most of the ones I did, especially in Michigan, were technically lights in the sky. Right? Every once in a while, I would get something that actually had some meat to it, quote unquote, that had some real, story potential. No smoking gun ever when it comes to, pointing out, well, for sure that this is, something that, should make worldwide news or anything.
Sure.
But there was some interesting ones. I think my claim to fame for that sort of thing was what I did. And I was an investigator for Montana MUFON also. I took over for a very short time as the state director there. And I was the state director as well as the investigator. But some of the cases that I had out there, one especially involved UFOs, a UFO over Maelstrom Air Force Base. And that was very intriguing, although, the length of the case itself wasn't that long. It was just the incident itself, and the fact that it was told by an OSI officer that was stationed at Maelstrom, but because they didn't want to get involved, we really couldn't do much with it. But and you see that there's a lot of cases where there are UFOs over bases, and we were seeing that just recently with all these drones,
Right.
going on over military bases.
What's your take on that?
The drones?
Yeah.
Oh, I think they're man-made.
Yeah.
I have a suspect that they are some sort of a black ops, project operation, some sort of thing like that. I really don't think that they are out of this world technology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, could be wrong on that. They might still be out there with them.
Well, and I've heard some people, conjecture that it also might be these drones are actually hiding UFOs or UAPs, and it's an interesting thought. I don't know if I quite understand that personally, but my opinion would be more along your lines of black ops. I've heard some people say that it's a kind of a test to see how the population reacts to such thing as unknown quantities in the sky. Just curious, when you get into something like MUFON, I'm curious about your mindset here, in the sense of, are you going into a organization, and I mean strictly for you? I bet it's different for everybody, but are you going into an organization like MUFON, knowing in your mind that you believe that UFOs and aliens are real, or did you go into it just you don't know what's what, and this is going to help you maybe find that answer?
Well, I'd have to say that I went into it because I've had my own experiences, as
Nice.
have, my family for
Mhm.
basically my whole life. So, but then again, I guess I can't say I'm what you call a believer. For me, it's about the evidence.
Yeah.
What's evidence is there? What is the reality of it? But I guess even saying the reality of it is it's a phenomenon. To me, there's so much more than just finding an object.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that goes along with the whole thing. People having psychic experiences of their, people have seen UFOs and seen Bigfoot in the same place, or they've had incidences where they've seen spirits, in connection with UFOs. So it's like all in together. And I think that there are a lot of investigators out there that are all that they're looking for is the objects, and maybe that's what they think they are. But to me, it's a phenomenon. I have to say, I guess I always felt that they're number one, that they were real.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them more than once through my lifetime. But I went into it and wanted to know what they were. What
Mm-hmm.
are they? If there's someone that powers them, who is it? What are they? What do they want? And it speaks to who we are as a species.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we? If there are other intelligences in the universe, and where does that leave us? Especially if, there's evidence there that they've been here, for millennia, thousands and thousands of years.
I really like that answer, especially when I've had friends of mine who have had these dreams that with aliens in them, and they don't
Mhm.
seem like dreams. You're right. So there is, and
Yeah.
in my opinion, and in my experience, that I believe that they have been in my house. And I think one of the first things people need to do when they, in my opinion, when they start thinking about a alien phenomenon, is that there are no rules behind what can happen. And so, if people are thinking, well, there can't be aliens because takes so many millions of years to travel from where they are to Earth or whatever, those are the type of things I think you have to dispense with and not believe in what human confines are, but more of what we don't know is what we should know, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, we are looking at it from the material point of view.
Yeah.
The reality that we live in isn't necessarily the reality that they live in. It could interdimensional, I guess, is the way to put that.
Yeah.
Is to think that there are entities or intelligences, whatever they are, that can interact with us basically whenever they feel like it. And like you said, they come to us. I've actually have had those dreams myself, and I started chronicling them back in the early 90s. And a lot of them, I'd have to say that I don't know that I believe or I know for sure what those dreams are. I know they aren't like normal dreams,
Yeah.
But I also couldn't specifically say, well, this was, an entity or whatever that is coming through. But some of them aren't, because they were so strange. They did have this sense of reality about them, I guess is the way to put it. You can tell when you wake up, like, yeah, that's not a normal dream. It was like an altered reality.
And
basically was they put you in. And
I bet that has to be really strange, because you're like, is that there's a realism to a dream about something that, in a sense, can't be real. When you think about aliens, I mean, I think aliens are real, don't get me wrong, but it can be such a disconnect but you're putting the term realism to that. I mean, that has to really be an interesting situation, an interesting feeling.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. Sorry. I find it interesting. And funny enough, we did not bring Marie on to talk about UFOs and stuff. And
get me started on UFOs.
Yep.
Okay.
But at least we know that there is a reason that beyond just talking about this stuff, that we can bring you back and talk about UFOs another time as well. What I want to do though is I want us to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the two books, Haunted Muskegon and Haunted Newaygo County, and we could talk about all sorts of things. If you have questions, put them in the comments. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Lilliput in Coon Rapids dares you to take part in their Haunted Mansion escape room. 100 years ago, a family suffered a tragic incident. Your team is brought in to find out what happened that night, find proof of the supernatural, and help the spirits find peace. Are you up for the task? This incredible escape room is filling up fast, so book now. Also, a perfect outing for work team building. Go to lilliput.net now to book your experience today. Greg Bakun here. Like many of you, I still collect physical books, and not just any books, but books about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. I go to Mega's Books and Herbs, located in the Arts District of Minneapolis, but books are only part of it. Magus Books and Herbs offers crystals, jewelry, herbs, oils, and consultations on how to use this stuff. Check out their in-store classes and events too. This place has everything to expand your horizons. Located at 1848 Central Avenue, Minneapolis, or visit magusbooks.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Recently, I had a large order of custom designed t-shirts that needed to be turned around in a hurry. I knew exactly who to call. Grady Gear Company. Grady Gear Company is a local company that handles large and small custom clothing and apparel orders. I had a lot of questions from color, shirt quality, and what sizes we needed. Grady Gear Company was great to work with. They got us what we needed on time, and now everybody's looking great around the station in their new gear. Start your order at GradyGearCo.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. And I wanted to remind everybody that Char Savoy and I are doing another round of our paranormal class that starts this Monday, February 10th. And it's a 6-week course that is called Paranormal Dimensions and the Supernatural. And it's an online as well as in-person class. And basically what we're doing is we are teaching people best practices for paranormal communication, paranormal investigating. We also cover off on ufology, demonology. Doesn't mean you become a demonologist, but we talk about it. We have also cryptozoology. We have videos of people that we've interviewed about these areas, as well as a lot of videos about paranormal activity. And then we also, one of the things I really like about this is, especially the last class, we go through how, when you get all this media, when you do the investigation, you have all these recordings, maybe video, audio, pictures. What do you do with it? How do you edit video? How do you edit audio? How do you organize your media so that you can go through and look at the investigation, look at the research? Then when we're done, we take our class to a paranormal investigation at a location, and they're really cool locations. This one was going to be very cool. And then you are on a list to join us in all future investigations that we do as well. It's a lot of fun. We've had a number of people take this class, and we've had a really good turnout, and we'd like to invite you to take part in it. To sign up for the class, go to charvinity.com, and then on the left-hand side it says classes and events. Look up Paranormal Dimensions and the Supernatural, sign up, and we hope to see you Monday, February 10th. If you sign up and you can't go one night, we record it and we'll send it over to you as well. So check it out. It is a lot of fun. I have with us tonight, I have author and researcher Marie Cisneros, and we want to talk about a couple books tonight. We're talking about Haunted Muskegon and Haunted Newaygo County. And Marie, what area do you currently live in, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I live in Muskegon, which is actually in Muskegon County, and that is on the shores of Lake Michigan, actually considered a port city.
Okay.
It was one of a very large port back in the day, and Muskegon history starts actually early on, back in the early 1700s, probably, basically with the trappers, and then moved on to the lumber barons, basically, or the lumber industry. So Muskegon is basically known, it used to be called Lumbertown. We had a hockey team named, the Lumbermen. So it's very prominent in Muskegon, and so is actually Newaygo County. Michigan is, a lot of the industry started out, and bringing the people here to the state had to do with the lumber industry.
And have you been there long in this area?
Yes, actually, I moved here when I was around 5 years old.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
originally from Laredo, Texas, and so I'm a transplanted Michigander. But I've actually lived in Muskegon pretty much my whole life, other than a few stints here and there. Lived in Florida and back in Texas, and then Oklahoma and Mississippi, a couple of other states, but pretty much Muskegon and pretty much right here on the same street.
Well, if it works, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's a beautiful area here. I live very, very close to Muskegon Lake, which is a tributary that goes into Lake Michigan. So
Mhm. Well,
a lot of water.
and why I ask is because I mean it's it's pretty clear as to why you've written books about them, because you've been immersed in it most of your life. So and I mean it's kind of like, I think a good rule for writing a book, or two of them, is to write about what you know. I mean, I'm sure you had to research all these tales and stuff, but I mean, you must have been well aware how haunted these areas were.
Yeah, I was aware that two of the prominent houses in Muskegon, the Hume House and the Hackley House, they're actually part of a museum complex now. And they were very prominent things in Muskegon because, especially the Hackley House, was built by a philanthropist, Charles Hackley, and he was basically the founder of Muskegon. We have Hackley Hospital, we had Hackley Library, which is another another place that is haunted, and I do talk about that in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they were very familiar places, obviously, and especially the library. That was one of my favorite haunts. But yeah, I guess the thing is with doing research, though, is when you live in an area and it becomes so familiar to you that you don't really, know about it.
Sure.
So it's like once you start doing research, like this is a wonderful, this is some wonderful history, because some of it I knew and some of it I wasn't aware of until I really started getting into the nuts and bolts of Muskegon, and its beginnings and all of that, only as a general history. But I really enjoyed it. I did learn a lot, and it was a lot of fun. I do love to do research. So.
And I can imagine, like you said, I mean, you could be overly familiar with an area, I suppose, and not saying that you would do this, but I could see myself being like, oh, I know it all. There's nothing to learn here, and then you do the research and like, oh, well, actually there's quite a bit here. And you said it goes, Muskegon goes back to the 1700s, right? I mean, there's I'm sure there's stuff that you didn't put into the book because there just isn't enough room.
Oh, absolutely. And I do, I love the history, and there was many things that I wanted to maybe focus on just because of its interest historically. But yeah, there was only enough time to do it. I had a year to write each book. Well, I had a year to write Haunted Muskegon, and I had 11 months to write Newaygo County. And because each chapter focuses on, especially in Muskegon, Haunted Muskegon, it focuses on a different house, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in Haunted Newaygo, I had to focus on different towns. So it was not only one particular haunted area, it's the history of the town and what are they known for and things like that. So yeah, it was a lot of information that I had to go through to actually pick through and like, well, this is what needs to go here, especially when it comes to the ghost stories. But I think the Hackley ghost stories are the most well-known in the Muskegon area. A lot of people, it's just been kind of common knowledge that the Hackley House was haunted, as well as the Hume House and the library. And they believe that it's possibly haunted by the benefactor himself. And the great story, because I love Victorian era stuff, is that the story goes that a lady was in the library and was talking to someone, and she saw a man in a top hat and coat and tails and that sort of thing, Victorian dress, walk by her. So it's just like, yeah, well, that's not a common thing to see, obviously, in
No.
2020. So, and there's been, a lot of stories that went along with the Hume House and the Hackley House for many, many years. You hear say, "Oh yeah, I knew that story. I knew that place was haunted." So,
It
um,
I find it interesting, and other like big or haunted towns, and I'm thinking of like Deadwood, and a lot of people believe that like Seth Bullock, who is the sheriff of that town, and was kind of the guy who ran the town, for good apparently, that they see him around, and I kind of feel like that something like Heckley and other people in towns who have those kind of prominent figures, I always think to myself, they may not have crossed over. They might still be around their town, because they can't let go. It's just an interesting thought.
oh yeah, yeah. I've heard that, and I've actually read that into research that they they have a sense of ownership
Yeah.
of either the building or the area. They either they can't let go, or they are stuck, within that plane. And I guess is another way to put it, that they're stuck, whatever, like the atmosphere and implanted energy, into the environment. But I have read that if they're an actual spirit manifestation, it's because they think they own it. And that's why even if houses start having a troublesome ghost, and they start, knocking down things or slamming doors, especially if you start doing renovations or making some
Yeah.
major changes and they don't like it.
No, we had a situation at a place called the Grand House. We were doing a Facebook Live of a paranormal investigation there, and we had cameras set up everywhere. And Shar and I worked together on a lot of stuff paranormal wise, and we had the camera looking in the basement, and you could hear some stuff moving down there. And we're just like, hello, because you could hear, if you're down there, you could hear through the microphone and speaker, and we're like, hello, and nothing happened. And all of a sudden, right between the two of us, there was this booming voice that was hello. And the reason why I bring it up is because we believe that it was one of the prominent people who owned the Grand House, and it kind of fits into that whole thing that, if you're working very hard at running a building, a hotel, a town, whatever, you just don't know how to let go. I don't think they know how to let go, to be honest.
Mm. It's very true. Or some trauma, and that's a common theme too, is
That's
that
true.
whatever their death was, it happened to have been traumatic, or maybe even the sense that they're so surprised that they died, that energy just still gets stuck in there, the emotional, aspect of it. That's why, I guess with people that are, clairvoyant or clairsentient,
Mm-hmm.
can also pick up on that. But in another vein, we're talking about the Victorian houses
Yeah.
here, and there are quite a number of them.
Mm.
The Hackley House, the Hume House. Another one that in the book is Torn House, and those are all from the Victorian era,
Yeah.
and they're still obviously still standing.
Mm.
And another great building here, and it's kind of like one of the jewels of Muskegon, is the Fronthal Theater, and that was built back, I think, late 1800s, also as actually a movie theater. But I mean, it's went through a lot of changes. It's actually a beautiful, beautiful building, but it is said to be haunted by, they believe, the owner, and he was like a showman, and I think his name, I could be wrong. I think it's Petey, they call them,
Mm-hmm.
but they believe it's the owner, but they call him the showman because you see this ghost and he is dressed with, same thing with a top hat. And he's wearing, the scarf like they did back in the early days of
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, because that's what he loved. He loved Hollywood and he loved the movies and the theater. I think he built 5 other theaters in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I think 3 here in Muskegon and 2 in another town that's not too far from us. But that's great. I haven't seen him, and I love the theater. I love doing, watching live shows. But the last time I was there, I kind of had to, instead of watching the play, I had to look around and see if Pete was there hiding behind a curtain,
And he didn't show up for you, huh?
I'm sorry.
He didn't show up for you, huh?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That was one that was investigated, I think several times, and I do talk about that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
in the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think, what is the name of the chapter? If I can, Haunted Muskegon. I can see my own writing here. Oh yeah, it's on with the show, the Frontal Theater and the Ghost of PJ. See, I was wrong about the name.
That's why I didn't show up. That's why I didn't show up. Well, and it sounds like too, Muskegon has like you didn't destroy your heritage like a lot of places sometimes do, where they'll take down the Victorian houses or the beautiful theaters and stuff. It sounds like seemingly a lot has survived.
I think they have in recent years, especially in maybe in the last 20 years. But the one sad note was a lot of it was taken down. We did have a downtown area,
Mm-hmm.
downtown. And then in the 70s, they decided they were going to tear down most of it and build a mall. And then here, I'm not quite sure what year it was, then they tore down the mall. And then we started rebuilding the downtown area, which was great because a lot of the older buildings that were left, they started using them. There's a lot of, pubs, there's microbreweries down there, and that's kind of very much revitalized the town. But a lot of them were actually moved from other areas.
Oh,
They weren't like they weren't in the main part of the city, and they would move them into a historic era. So yeah, there's quite a few buildings that are left, which I'm glad they did too. Those 2 are, they're iconic as it comes to Victorian era houses.
mm-hmm.
The Hackley House is absolutely beautiful inside.
Mm.
When you first in your introduction, you said that suggested people should come here.
Yeah,
I would very much suggest it also. Muskegon is a really great town to visit. We have a really lot to offer when it comes to, the sightseeing and seeing the, Victorian era buildings and haunted buildings, but just the lake. And we really get a lot of, traffic actually in the summer.
nice.
Even our farmers market apparently gets like 10,000 visitors on a Saturday.
That's a lot.
It's like
That's a lot. Marie, why don't we go ahead and do this? I want to go ahead and take our next break here, and when we get back, I want to focus on Haunted Newaygo County, because we haven't talked a lot about that book. And we're gonna, if anyone has any comments, put it into the comments section. We're talking with author Marie Cisneros. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. What you wear is important. It should be fun, creative, and expressive of your own personality. At Grady Gear Company, we believe that clothing is more than just fabric and threads. It's a form of self-expression and a way to stand out from the crowd. Grady Gear is more than just a clothing brand. We're a community. We're here to inspire and motivate you to embrace your true self. We are a locally owned small business who do custom clothing orders too. Find us at GradyGearCompany.com. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
And tomorrow is the day. We're talking about Ghost Stories and Beyond returns tomorrow, Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. over at Billy's Bar and Grill in Anoka. And we're going to have special guest, author, researcher, June Gosler Anderson. And she is going to be giving a presentation about Haunted Anoka tomorrow. It's going to be incredible. I am really looking forward to it. She has written many paranormal books about a lot of haunted locations. She's been around the world, and she's written a lot. And you can come join us at Billy's tomorrow. Some very important information. Tomorrow is at Billy's is half-price burgers. That's extremely important to know. They have a full bar there. To get into our event, it's $10 per person, and you can get this fantastic presentation about Haunted Anoka while you're in Anoka, in one of the most haunted places in Anoka, Billy's Bar and Grill. You are going to love it. We're in the basement down there. Come check it out and enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are doing one-question readings with psychic medium, Refined Divine Deb. She is going to be with us. You know how it works. You give us, you put in a comment, you call in with a question, and Deb will answer it. These are very popular, and you need to take part. It's a lot of fun. That is tomorrow, Thursday. We're going to do a replay with guest author Alex Matsuo as we're talking women in the paranormal. And of course, don't miss Friday. As always, it's Casual Friday. Right now, though, we have with us author, researcher Marie Cisneros. We have been talking about one of her books, Haunted Muskegon. Now I want to focus a little bit on Haunted Newaygo County. And Marie, to get these books, going to Amazon, is that where we should be sending them?
Well, it is available at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walgreens, as well as the publisher. If I have signed copies, if someone wants to contact me, mariehelena777@gmail.com or
Nice.
Facebook.com, Paranormal Muskegon, if they would like a signed copy, but it's pretty much available at most bookstores.
How nice. I've been getting some information about this on the Amazon site, so it's good to know it's other places as well. And I'm sure both books have been very well received. That would be my assumption. And let's see, Haunted Newaygo County. That's a relatively new book. It looks like August of 2024 that came out. Is that right?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's
Yes, it
great.
did.
That's very cool. How many cities or towns do you say that you researched in for that book?
Oh, I think I wrote down, I think there was like 20 some. Well, I didn't research all towns, all the towns. I think
Well, yeah. I mean, life
basically
only
it's,
is too long,
well,
right?
in Newaygo County is a city of Newaygo too.
Okay.
So that's Newaygo County, White Cloud, Fremont, um, and Grant, basically. There's only like, 4 cities that I focused on. And each town had, obviously more than one ghost. So,
Right.
yeah, right. And Grant, Michigan. So, Newaygo County is basically, kind of like they're started out the same way, populated by the Algonquin tribes, and then
Mhm.
the history very much prominent in the trade or fur trade and the lumber industry, and that's how, kind of like starts. I think the paranormal history is probably kind of like taking a back seat to all of that, but
Mhm.
once
Mhm.
I got into it, I found out that there was quite a few stories up there.
I can imagine, and I mean, and the amount of research that had to have taken. And once again, we're probably talking about a lot of stories that weren't able to get in only because of time and stuff. And I mean, what kind of criteria do you use for the stories that get into your books?
Um, I guess maybe just the interest in it
Yeah.
and how many other people that could corroborate the story.
Okay.
I mean, if it was just something that, oh, you just heard like one little story that someone said once, and you're like, well, there's not much of a story there. But if you hear it in from multiple sources, or even a line, or even word of mouth, that it becomes an urban legend.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it came to Newaygo County, and I did find that out through, we did a little um, get together at the bookstore, which is actually featured there also.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Flying Bear Books and Creperie, and they did a little thing where people got together and they told all of these stories. So a lot of them knew some of the stories that I told here, and they knew, they were haunted. So that's kind of to do with a lot of the stories that I have, is that a lot of them are urban legends.
Mm-hmm.
The one, it's the ghost of the La Belle de la Riviere, and was formerly called the Riblet House, and it's a beautiful bed and breakfast now. But that's got a lot of stories connected to it, because the rumor is that Al Capone was a very prominent figure there, because his accountant owned the house at one time when it was the Riblet House. So Newaygo County itself has a lot of stories to do with Al Capone. And once again, those might just be stories that get told. But the interesting thing about, especially the town of Newaygo, is that there are tunnels beneath the town. So it was said that there was a tunnel beneath the Riblet House and other places, or to the railroad area, so that they started out as doing bootleg. But it is said that they hear things down there, and in the Riblet House, they would hear music playing, like 1920s music, or people whispering in the rooms and things like that. And that was something that was very well known, around the town.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is the ghost of the goth girl, the ghost of the trails, where the high school kids would always see this ghost, along these
Mm-hmm.
trails where they would kind of hang out, during school or after school.
Sure.
And the story was that she was bit by a Muskegon rattlesnake. So I had to research snakes. Like apparently we don't have very many poisonous
Right.
snakes, but apparently we do.
I guess
So
so.
I had to, research that.
Mhm.
And to me, that story, it's kind of a legend. Like we'd have to read the story or the chapter in the book, to find out my thoughts on that whole thing. But it's a great story. I really do. I did like that one, but.
I like the name Riblet House. I like to think that mine is Chicken McNugget House. So
that was actually his name. His name, the man that built it, was Riblet.
You got me at Riblet. That's all I know.
Riblet, yeah.
So here's a thought.
And now it's Newaygo Bed and Breakfast. And when you're talking about doing research, for things. And I don't know, being a researcher, maybe you've had this happen is that when you are looking for something, researching, things tend to come to you unexpectedly, that you're looking for a certain thing, or maybe a storyline, and you'll meet someone or you'll see something offhand and it's just what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, in the case of doing the story in the Riblet House, when we were at the bookstore, doing this little talk, about, finding, gathering ghost stories for my book. The man that owned the house, the bed and breakfast, happened to come into the bookstore. It was the only week that he was in town because he actually lives in Alaska. So he told me all about all of these stories. And then he actually gave me and some other people a tour of the house. So, getting all these stories, I was actually able to get in there and feel the vibe, of this house right from the start. So, that was great. And I found that in other instances in Haunted Muskegon. The last chapter in that book is called Dead Man's Hand, the Century Club Ghost, and that's chapter 13. And I found that story, and I just happened to go in there on another errand, just talking with someone, and then heard the story, about that ghost. So, there was my chapter 13.
Wow.
So, and that's what I love that. It used to happen to me when I was doing genealogy too. Like, oh, I find this person. So
I had a question in terms of when you're talking research and stuff and talking especially ghost stories, and we have about 4 minutes left here. And
okay.
When do you like either one way or the other, you research a story, and when you talk to the locals, that that story has expanded quite a bit, becomes more of a long tail than the story is once you actually research it. Once you go back to as close to the source as you can, it's not quite as either grand or as maybe even as interesting as what some of the locals have told you. It's like it's got like a game of telephone. It becomes more and more kind of broken up over the time.
Oh, absolutely. And that is the thing with the ghost of the girl ghost on the ghost of the trails.
Yeah.
The story was very much embellished, I think, over the years. There were several other stories, and one of them, the story of the Flying Bear book store, and there's a story in there, but about, it's called The Breather, and that was actually very interestingly was told by the owner of the bookstore, who unfortunately passed away before the book came out. So that was, very poignant story. But and that's another one that's just kind of it's a campfire story basically. But yeah, there isn't really a lot to it other than just the scare factor. That's what it was made for.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's so true. That's exactly what some of these are made for. As we're running out of time here, are you working on any new books?
Actually, I'm going through a book that a youth novel that I wrote before I got into doing these, called Sequence 17. So I'm hoping to actually get that one published, in the near future, but we'll see how that goes. But I'm always working on things for Paranormal Muskegon and Muskegon by the Stars Astrology, and those can be seen on the MuskegonChannel.com entertainment, and those are available on TikTok and Substack, Blue Sky, Facebook and X.
Very nice.
And so I do those like once a month, basically.
How cool. That's very nice. So you're keeping pretty busy, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm actually, I have to keep busy.
Yeah. Well, and have you ever thought about doing like a second volume to these books, considering that you probably have extra material, or put them together or something?
It's possible. I actually thought about maybe doing one for as a kids version, those. I know that particular publisher does do kids versions of the other haunted stories. I have seen several of those, but that's an idea.
That's cool. That's really nice. Now, once again, you can get both of these books, Haunted Muskegon and Haunted Newaygo County, really anywhere. I was looking at Amazon, but Maria has talked about also Barnes and Noble, and really anywhere. And I do really, like I said at the start of the program, I love these type of books because it's transporting me to a place, even though it's home for Marie. For me, it's a place that I've never been to, and I love that stuff. Marie, I mean, what nice work. Thank you so much for writing these, and thank you for coming on tonight. This is great.
Well, thank you for chatting with me. I enjoyed it very much.
And you're going to come back on. I'm going to start talking MUFON and UFOs next time, like the whole hour. How does that sound?
Oh, I would love that. That'd be great.
It would be great. I mean, we could have. You should probably applaud me right now, Marie, that we actually got back to your books, because once we started down that UFO route at the beginning, I wasn't sure if I wanted to let go, to be very honest. I'm just going to be honest about it. Okay.
Okay.
Marie, thank you so much for being on tonight. Loved it.
All right. Thank you. So did I.
And don't forget, folks, go out to Ghost Stories and Beyond tomorrow over at Billy's in Anoka for June Gosler Anderson, Haunted Anoka. And tomorrow night, one question readings with psychic medium Refined Divine. It's going to be a blast. We'll see you tomorrow. Everyone, have a fantastic night.